I have a new technique that I've been using for getting my warp onto my front warping stick, and it seems to have solved the problem of the lower shed issue. So I'm just going to take you through it quickly. The first thing you'll need are these string heddles. So these are what are used on floor looms or inkle looms. So we're going to attach them first of all to that front warping stick. So if we take the first loop and just pull the yarn through it, I can attach it. I've got about 18 inches across here. I'm going to attach about 18 of them evenly across that front warping stick. So again, I'm just separating that loop out. I'm pulling the end through, and there we go. I'll do one more. So I've got my heddle here. I'm going to open up that loop. I'm going to put it through, and there it is attached. So what I'm going to do now is attach all the rest of those heddles, and when I get back, we'll do the next step. I've got all my heddles attached now, and the next step is I'm going to take my bundles and I'm just going to split them into about 1 inch increments, and I'm going to tie a knot at the end. I want that knot as close to the end as possible. You might want to wind your warp up a little bit more, which I'm going to do here, just to make it easier to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take my next bundle. I've combed it out, I've made sure it doesn't have any tangles in it, and now I'm just doing a regular overhand knot. And I want my knots to be at about the same spot. They don't have to be exact, but you want them at about the same spot in each bundle. So in this particular pattern, I'm just dividing each bundle into, oops, I have to fix this one. If you notice, I got the strings tangled. I'll do that when I'm not on camera. I'm just going to tie a couple so you can see what I'm doing. So just tying that, it's about the same spot. Go on to the next bundle. So I'm a big fan of combining different techniques. So this is actually a technique that I learned warping my floor loom, my sectional beam. So this is actually how I attach the warp to my back beam before ever beginning to wind on with my sectional beam on my big 60-inch floor loom. And I got to here and I thought, well, why can't I do that here? Because I don't like lashing. A lot of people do. It wasn't how I learned. I really like tying on, but I just didn't, I just don't like lashing. I find that long cord, I can't ever get the tension quite the way I want it. So this seems to solve all those issues that I don't like with lashing. And it seems to get rid of any issues with that loose lower shed with cotton. So I'm going to keep going across and doing all of these, and then I'll meet back here with you, and we will then attach the warp to the heddles that are here. So back in a minute. And here we are back again, and I'm going to show you how to take this warp and attach it to the string heddle. So you have one loop attached to the front warping stick, and you've got another loop out here. So we're going to just fold that down. My fingers are through the loop. I'm going to grab below the loop, and I'm going to make another loop. That's called a half hitch, I think. No, a lark's head knot. So now I have this loop that'll slide up and down, and when it gets tight, it tightens up and it doesn't come apart. So I'm going to take my warp, I'm going to slip it through there above the knot, and I'm just going to pull it tight. Trying to get that in focus for you. So it's pulled tight here. It can't come out. It's firmly attached. And I'm going to do that all the way across the loom. I want to keep them, you know, fairly evenly spread, just like if I were tying it on. So I've got my fingers through that loop. I'm reaching below the loop and creating that lark's head knot. My heddle is coming up above that knot, and then when I pull it tight, it comes snug against the knot, but the knot can't pull out. So let's do one more, and then I'll leave you to do it, and I'll be back in a minute to tighten things up. So my fingers are through the end loop. I'm grabbing below that loop, pulling it through so that I have a slidey loop here. I'm going to put that knot through, slide the heddle up above the knot, and then pull it tight. So I'm going to do that all the way across the loom, and then I'll be back here. We'll tighten up the warp and we'll check out the sheds. Welcome back. So I have all my warp attached to these heddles now, and I'm just going to wind that front beam forward. And if there's any that are a little bit loose, I'm just going to go and tighten up those knots a bit. So I've got this one a little bit loose here. You can see it sagging, and this one's sagging a bit. But other than that, a couple of them over here are loose. So I'm going to tighten those ones up, and then we'll check the sheds, which I think are going to be excellent. So hang on a minute. I've tightened everything up. The tension isn't perfect yet. It's a little bit loose at this end, but we're going to fix that up by adding our warping sticks. So I still spread my warp with warping sticks as opposed to yarn. They're just so easy to take out at the end. There's no tangling or anything, so I just prefer that. So I've got one in the up shed there. You can see we're a little loose here. Just put one in the down shed, and that should tighten things up. If not, I'll add one more stick, and that should do it. So I've got a great lower shed. If we put this back down into the down shed, I've got quite a good down shed as well. So I find that this works really well. It's a little bit more tedious, I think, to tie the knots and get everything all even, but the results are excellent, and you don't get that loose lower shed that you get when you're tying onto that front warping board or front warping stick.